Hey, Don here. Okay, back again with another live stream, and I have to check my stream audio before I get started and make sure everything's working right. And I can see my picture. Okay, it's all good. And now, I am going to go back on work on the Acer Extensa laptop, what is it, 4630 I think, Z, and if that's wrong, maybe I'll see it, look in some of my, something here in a little bit. Oh, I know how I can tell. Let's get on the desktop. This is what I'm going to run on it, Super Grub2 Disk, and if you go back a page, because I was just on my last video, and I don't have, Acer Extensa 4630Z. I actually remembered that right. Okay, so I'm going to last time I ran out of steam and got hungry and I had to quit. I did want to try Super Grub2 Disk. Well, what I have done is installed Fedora 29 server on an SD card because the hard drive is bad. It's messed up. I've gone through that over that a few times, but you can format it with FAT32 and you can write files to it for a while, and then it'll start getting IO errors and messing up and failures on writes and stuff. If you try to install, any Linux operating system, it'll go through most of the install and then fail towards the end. It doesn't show to be, it just shows to have some bad sectors from what I remember in, hard disk testing apps and stuff. But this Acer has an SD card slot, or regular size, standard size SD card slot, but I have what I have in it is a little SD card, micro SD like for the phones, in an adapter that came with it, for that sort of thing. And I've installed Fedora 29 on it a couple of times now. That does just fine. And Fedora 29 will automatically partition up whatever kind of drive you give it, Works with SSD, SSDs, I think pretty much any Linux distro will work with SSDs now, and that's flash memory, so I figured, it should work with SD cards just as well. Of course, there is some differences I know on SD cards because I have one of those Raspberry Pi single board computers, and they had a lot of trouble. I got I got the second model, the Model B, and there was a lot of trouble with certain SD cards and stuff, but really it all boils down to I was using Fedora Media Writer, and that does really well. It automatically partitions up whatever drive you give it, and it'll do USB sticks as well, which is flash memory too, and partitions them up the way they need to be for Fedora. And it is a bit different with Fedora. Fedora does it differently than Debian and others, but Fedora and Debian's the two ones I really ever use. Anyway, Fedora 28 and 29. 29 is what I'm going to put on there. I'm actually, if I can get it to work, I'm going to turn it into a server just for my websites, and then it won't make a lot of heat and I don't think it'll make as much heat as a desktop at all. It shouldn't. It doesn't make hardly any noise, so that'll be good. And then maybe just leave it in here in my room instead of having to set one. What I finally ended up doing, I've had a server in here for years, but I had that IBM that wasn't too loud, but it did make heat. And I figured out once I put it out in the garage. Figured it out last summer, and I figured out, boy, that makes a lot better in here with the heat wise. Those things put out more heat than you might think. And it's just a single core, 2.45 gigahertz single core Celeron. Great for a server, better than, something. Well, I'm not sure if that would use less power than, let's say, a dual core that's a little newer. But yeah, I think it does, because the power supplies are generally smaller on those older machines. It just depends on what machine you got, but anyway. he got. I don't want to go into the long story of all those histories, but so right now, my problem is I had forgotten I'd left the hard drive in there, and it just had been formatted to FAT32 just to see if I could write files to it and stuff. And it does right now. Every time I write files to it, it's fine. And so, it was in there, but I thought, well, it shouldn't hurt anything, and I left it in there. Installed Fedora 29 Server Edition to the SD card, and I put Grub on that drive. I didn't include the hard drive in the in the install at all. I just left it out of the. It's the options you can do. Well, the option is I left it out. The option I chose to leave it out, but it wouldn't boot. So then I tried Super Grub2 Disk. I have some older versions on CD. I tried Super Grub2 Disk, Rescatux, and Boot Repair CD, and none of them could fix it. And one or two of them said you need to get the newer version because we don't support some of the features here in this operating system. And so I went and downloaded the newer ones, and I tried Rescatux and Boot Repair Disk, the newest versions as of February 2019 here, and but I didn't try Super Grub Disk. It's actually, I think they're calling it Super Grub2 Disk now. And I think the version of I have a couple of different versions, but they're older. So anyway, I have for Grub 1 and for Grub 2 and stuff. And when they came out with Grub 2, then Super Grub Disk used to fix the boot. Now, but when it came out with Grub 2, this is what I remember anyway. They didn't fix it anymore. It didn't fix it anymore. Rescatux would still, but it wouldn't. And I mean, if it can, but like I said, I had trouble with all that, so I never did. It couldn't do it. Errors, different kinds of errors, and so this one, what I want to do is just see if this, if I can get this machine to boot to. That I left it as it was. So the last thing I did was I reinstalled it again, and I installed Grub on the hard drive, and then tried to use one of these rescue systems to install Grub onto the SD card, and I tried it a couple of different ways. I booted it up to install Grub onto the SD card, and then boot to the hard drive, and then have the hard drive, and then set up Grub 2 on the hard drive to point to the SD card, because the BIOS can't see that SD card as a boot. It won't see it as a boot device, and so I don't think. Originally, I was just going to put the SD card, install it, and see if it worked, but I actually never tried that. Now I know one of my laptops. I'm certain almost that one of my laptops will boot straight to an SD card, but it might be the Dell 1525. If there's no hard drive in it, I think is what I remember though. So I was kind of thinking. Well, so that's the one thing I haven't done is taken the hard drive out and just install it. But I'd have to reinstall again. So before, and I may do that. We'll see. But right now, I have Grub that was installed with the Fedora 29 installer on the hard drive, Grub 2, and the SD card, I never did get Grub to install on it. Now, I could have booted it up to Fedora 28 Live, Well, I'd have to I overwrote my sticks. I don't have it anymore, but I could do that. I could rewrite it, or something, it could be Fedora 29 or whatever. And I did do that during all that process. Actually, what I had done is the first time when I had Fedora 29 and Grub on the SD card, I booted it up to Fedora 28 on my USB stick and installed Grub onto the hard drive. That didn't help. It didn't see the SD card. It just errored out. It just tried to boot to the hard drive and errored out. And if I knew more Grub commands and everything, I might have been able to do it, but if I can't, long commands, if I can't copy and paste them, I can't type them anyway. My eyes swap letters and numbers, and I just can't do that sort of thing well. If it's simple stuff, I'll do it, but still may mess up. But anyway, that's why I want to find, graphic user tools to do it for you. And plus, I usually they're pretty simple and they're pretty fast and usually easier than messing around with the command line for me anyway. So anyway, what I'm going to do then, my USB stick that I've been writing stuff to, I'm going to put it in the system. Guess I'll put it in there now. Because I'm going to need to write Super Grub Disk 2 or Super Duper Grub 2 Disk. Can't say it. I've already downloaded it, but let's just double check and everything. And here's all the explanation on the page here, what it'll do. And the key thing is that it'll do is right on down here. It will boot to Windows and stuff too, and it'll do some other. This one won't do that. It's Rescatux. It'll do things like blank your passwords and stuff, and so you can get back into a system if you forgot your password and stuff like that. But now this one, like I said, this one will only boot you into them, and then you'll just have to work on them from there. But some of the others will repair the boot. But let's see, where is it? Yeah, okay, GNU Linux. Okay, will auto detect with iNitrid, and it will even if you don't have Grub installed. Now I've used it before to do this in years past, and it'll boot to different kernels in your that are in your. It'll find them and boot to them. Now that'll get you into the system. Now see if I got into that system, well, that would encourage me to keep on working at this. And if I get in there, I could, like try to install Grub from the command line within the system too on that SD card, and then maybe what I have on the hard drive would see it fine. Well, I don't think that would make any difference. I already successfully had Grub installed on the SD card, and then installed it from live Fedora 28 onto the hard drive, and then it still didn't see it. And I tried doing running make config grub, grub make config and all that stuff. It still didn't make it see it, which I really was surprised, because Grub 2 is usually pretty good about finding every kind of drive that's on the system. There used to be, I guess you can still do it when it first came out. It was called experimental at the time, but you could, I forget what you hit, but you hit something on the keyboard while you was booting, go into another menu, and it would search for, there's two things it could do. It could just search for a USB and boot to USB if you had a USB plugged in, or it would search for ISOs. Well, let's see, how did it do that? Well, I think it would search for, you could tell it on the hard drive or on the USB or whatever, but I used to put ISOs on my hard drive, and you had to put them in a special folder, and you could boot straight from ISOs. But Fedora used to be supported, but not anymore because they changed up the way it works. But and I quit. That's kind of why I quit fooling with that, because. But I still like to do it. I just haven't make multi-boot USBs. I used to make multi-boot CDs and DVDs, but USBs are kind of nice because you can just rewrite them over, whenever they get old. And with the newest versions, but my problem was, my two USB sticks are only 2 gigabytes, so I run out of space. So then I started using these 32 gigabyte SD cards and a USB adapter, and I actually was using a system called Easy to Boot, and it's hard to set up but easy to boot. But once I got it set up, I used it for several years, and then it got to where it wasn't working when I'd put new ISOs on it. And I'm off on a tangent here. And finally found it was the SD card was getting fragmented and wasn't defragging. I was running it, but it wasn't working. And so this is actually the same SD card, but I thought, well, if I just write, there's no problems with writing to it or anything. It's just it was something about the way easy to boot works, and booting those ISOs, it was a problem. So I thought, well, if I put Fedora on it, and you know, the only thing that's going to be written is it won't be as much being written, because I won't be using it as a regular system. It'll just be a server, and most of it's read-only. I mean, there will be updates. I'm going to let it do automatic updates, and the more I think about it, the more problems I think of using an SD card for one thing, and then well, using an SD card as a server drive. But and this is for my personal website. It's not like a business thing or anything that's, you know, super important. It's just I don't like it when it's down. Let's see. So yeah, so my drive should be mounted. There it is. It says it says Rescatux. That's the way I'm going to have to say it, because that's the only way I can say it. It's spelled Rescatux, and I actually spelled it wrong on my video, and then corrected it. But I guess you're supposed to say it Rescatux, but I just can't say that. It just does not come off of my tongue. So and that's what it does. It's rescue. Rescatux. Tux is kind of a synonym for Linux, you know. Tux is the mascot, the penguin. They call him Tux, and so a lot of people like to use Tux instead of Linux, you know. But anyway, so it is a rescue, and then that's not the one I'm using. This same outfit or developer. I'll go into it right quick. I wanted to save this for after I do this, and I'm just jabbering around, so I can't seem to ever keep my brain. Guess I'll have to click there. This is the video. Let's see where. Oh, right here. Read more. Okay, so the fellow that I guess it's the guy that develops it, or one of the developers. His name is Adrian. Oh, I guess that's his whole name, Adrian 15 SGD. I guess that's his YouTube name. Okay, so he wrote me a long, detailed comment, real nice, long, detailed comment about my video. He actually took the time. You know, took the time to watch most of it. 3 hours and 13 minutes is how long my live videos get long. You know, especially with me rambling. Anyway. And I answered him quickly, and then I said, "Well, I'm going to try to answer him in this video, I guess, hopefully." But first, I wanted to do the number one thing I didn't get to, and that's try and see if it'll boot on the. That's one of the questions. He did ask me a few questions, and I sent him. I put him a short answer, and so. I thought, and as long as it take me to write something out, when I write stuff, I'm even worse because I want everything to be perfect. So I'll spend 4 hours writing something about it. As long as what he wrote, it'd take me 4 hours probably, or 2 at least. So I don't want to do that. I'd rather just answer him in the video. Since he doesn't seem to mind watching the video, I thought that'd be all right. So, yeah, I appreciate you. Adrian, I appreciate you taking the time to watch my video and to give me all the to write me that nice comment. And I am trying to get around here to answering it. So this is part of the answer right here. I'm going to go ahead and ask if I had tried Super Grub2 Disk, and no, I didn't get to it. I was worn out and starving to death, so I quit and hadn't been back to it for a few days on that day. So I already have it downloaded. Let's see. Okay. Here's there's stable and beta. Okay, let's go see what I downloaded. Go to my downloads folder. Okay, oh yeah, I know where it would be. Okay. It won't be in my downloads folder. I can go there and see, but yeah, it's empty because in order to keep this system from filling up, I use my backup drives. I've got 2 backup drives now. I'm actually, well, I can show you on The Seagate back expansion drive is a 5 terabyte, and the 8 terabyte is this another Seagate, and I reformatted it to ext4. It's much more stable. I left this one in TFS, and I wish I hadn't. It's broken 3 or 4 times. I've had to fix it. The file system is, but this one's the ext4. But this one, 8 terabytes, just got a full backup of the Seagate drive on it. So they're just each day when I boot up, they do their backups. And okay, so get in here in the 4 terabyte, 4.5 terabyte. It's called a 5 terabyte, but it's only 4.5 terabytes. And the same thing, that 8 terabyte was like 7.3 terabytes. What you get. So yeah, here we go. Resca. I actually spelled it right there. I spelled it wrong in my video description because I was trying to do it from memory. And he mentioned that, so I've already fixed that. But okay, so Rescatux, and I ran that one already used. That's what's on my USB stick right now. Super Grub2 Hybrid 202S10 is what I've got. Well, I don't know what. I won't know unless I try to download it again. I may have download the latest stable, or okay, download the latest. Maybe that'll give a little more explanation. Okay, 202S10. Oh yeah, there's x86-64 and then the i386 version 2. Put that in my folder there. So trying to look at the file name, but it's not giving the file name on the end of the link. Some do, some don't, you know. But CD and USB in one download. Okay, so I don't actually remember which one I downloaded. Is why I'm looking at it now. CD and USB in 122S10 ISO. I think that's probably what I have. Which is not. I don't. What I was wondering is, do I have the beta or the one they called stable? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use the one I got downloaded. They're not. These are not big at all. So you know, 2 gigabyte USB stick is no problem space wise. Normally, like I said, I don't right now. I don't care, but normally I like to put as many. I like to do multi boots and put as many things on there and leave them on there instead of doing it over and over. But in this case, I'm just doing it the way I am. And I actually had never done this before. I'm using Fedora Media Writer. I didn't think it actually supported other ISOs besides Fedora ISOs, but it does now, and it works. I've done it 2 or 3 times the other day. So one thing I want to do, let me go ahead and get somewhere besides. Okay, I'm going to close this. It makes me really nervous to start writing to USBs with USBs plugged in, huge backup drives. So I'm going to go ahead and unmount them so that I cannot mess up and get to them. It's not super complicated to find out what drive you're on, but just a slip of the mouse, my fingers slip off the mouse all the time. Things like that could, or just not, you know, not going fast, not paying attention. Or a lot of times for me, my problem is when I don't feel well, my brain doesn't work well. I'm kind of in between today. I'm not feeling real bad, but my brain is pretty mixed up today and sluggish. So Let me see. I think I will close. I went through what I want to on that. I'm getting back on that. Well, I'm going to come back to my video in our comments later. So let's get okay, now I've got, of course, now it's going to call it, normally that's called the SanDisk drive. Let's see what I want. Fedora Media Writer. Now, Fedora Media Writer, I'll just make it full screen so I can see it better. Custom image is what I'm going to do, but those three dots, like on your phone, if you click on that, it will actually download pretty much all the Fedora mixes and remixes, you know, for you, and then you can just burn it off, download and burn it off from here. But since I'm going to use, I generally don't even do that because I'm so used to download them. I usually just download them without thinking about it right when I'm getting ready to. Oh, and guess what? My downloads folder is empty, and I just unmounted those drives. So since it's only 19 megabytes, it'll be less trouble to just download it again than to remount those drives and everything. Let's see. Oh, history. Try that. It should get me back. And I think I'll even be able to go, yeah, looks like I'll be able to go forward to get back to that page. Okay, so yeah, and I went and looked at his YouTube channel, and I did notice there was some videos on here, but I've been using these for years, so you know I didn't stop and watch videos or anything. But there's a lot of good, you know, if you don't know how to use this stuff, they'll help tell you how to do it, in more ways than one. But I'm going to do the beta one because it may have the newest, you know, it should have the newest features of all. Let's see. Got to pay attention here. Downloads. Oh, I think it's going to take us back to that downloads page. CD, USB, and one. Okay, that looks like that would do it. Let's see what happens here. Okay, yeah. It's just going to automatically download it. Yeah, and this up here is BTZilla. It automatically scans. I have it set up. It's a Firefox add-on. I have it automatically set to scan everything I download with a bunch of virus scanners. So yeah, it's finished now. It doesn't stop the download. It just intercepts the file and scans it. So I'm going to hold down Control and open these up in two different tabs. Okay, so it's clean. I'm sure they've probably been scanned before. It scans. One of these is the page, and the other one should be the ISO. Yeah, see, that one's the ISO. So, and I never used to worry about that with Linux ISOs and stuff, but one time a couple of times over the years, I've been using Linux since 2005, so I've got quite a few years to stories I could tell, but I'm going to go back to that page. But I actually got, several years ago, the main website got attacked and infected. Their download was infected, their ISO was infected with, now sometimes something funky goes on with Fedora Media Writer. See, we're seeing, I don't think it's my system. Yeah, it's just fine. It does act up sometimes and does things like that, so I'm going to close it and open it back up. Hadn't done that in a while. It's kind of odd too. I don't know exactly what causes that. Usually when you see something like that, you've got problems with memory being, your video memory being used up, really, or sometimes RAM, but usually it's your video memory. But the system seems fine, so I don't think that's what it is. And I just rebooted it not long ago. Let's see. And it does it when I'm not making, you know, not working at the system, making a live stream too. So, all right, now that's the one I'll go ahead and use. Maybe that's the one I wanted anyway. Now, see, it sees the Sanders cruiser pattern, so it's seeing it by its name. It's the name it's given out. It's not seeing the label given to it by Fedora, by Rescatux last time I put it on there, but it's seeing the actual name of the drive. And so that's what I'm going to go with. You can, you know, pick other drives. Like if it shows something else, looky there, you can still see even though I unmounted them, you can still see those other drives. So really, the only way to make them safe would have been to not just unmount them, but unplug them from the system. I'm pretty certain, I'll bet you if I went up Gparted, they would show up in there, and they're just not mounted. And so anyway, what I'm saying is you could write to them, and that would reformat them and erase everything on them if you selected one of those. So be very, very careful. It doesn't show my hard drive. A lot of these system burners will show with that little arrow. I guess it's not a drop down. A lot of these USB or CD writer, well, these are USB writers. A lot of these USB writers will see your hard drive, and you could write. Sometimes you actually want to write to an extra hard drive. You know, you might, or you may have a like I have a USB hard drive adapter. Plug a regular hard drive into a USB adapter, and there's been times when I did that. So that is a feature that you might want, or you might want to have plug in another hard drive and write it to that, you know, and then unplug it. There might be a reason why you might want to do that, but so you got to be really, really careful and pay attention to what it's doing, because you don't want to ruin your operating system, and you certainly, even worse, you don't want to ruin a huge backup drives, you know, if you're using USB backup drives like I do. So that's the number one thing to pay attention to when you're writing an image with any kind of USB. You're writing an USB writer like this. Okay, so I'm going to do write to disk, and you need to put in the root password. You do in Fedora. Now, if you've got Ubuntu or Debian or something, it may be different. But well, in Debian, I think you do. And Ubuntu, you know, they like to use sudo, and you just get sudo root privileges, almost partial root privileges, almost root privileges. Whoops. I'm thinking I may have to. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why they started putting that in here. You know, the option to delete the download image. No, I don't ever really want to do that. I wouldn't want the app to do it for me. If I was going to do it, I would just do it. But I mean, I guess that's all right. It's just not something I'm used to. But anyway, close. It's done. Oh, I forgot to do that. That may not work. It says at the top there, do I want to restore to factory settings? Usually you don't have room left on your drive to not do that, but since this was so small, I'm going to close it, and I may have to start over. Let's look at the drive here. Let's get back into Crusader. And I guess the drive is not going to may not even show up. Kilobyte, so image 2.8 kilobyte ISO image, unknown ext4, 16 megabyte ISO image. Okay, yeah, it's all on there, but the problem is, it's I don't know what I've got, because see, I had I didn't a lot of times when you're doing Fedora images, it will say that it successfully wrote it, but then it won't boot. And so I'm going to kind of keep that as a make sure I'm still in the right place there. I'm just going to do it again, because yeah, so that's a mistake you can make real easy. That blue up there at the top, I just didn't register with me. But when you do restore, that's going to reformat it. It doesn't say that it's going to reformat it. And if anybody's familiar with writing to drives of any way or any form, you know what reformatting is. But they don't say that. They say we inserted the Sanders Cruiser pattern that already contains a live system. Do you want to store it to factory settings? That is it's just confusing. It's not helpful. It doesn't make it easier for people. Fedora is really, trying to make it easier for people that don't know all these things to use it. But if you don't learn things right from the start, then you'll never understand it. It just makes things confusing. So yeah, I try not to grab about free stuff, but I mean, you got to tell people, right? Things that just don't make sense to make common sense. Anyway, what I'm going to do is, it took me a while to figure out for sure what they were saying, because you do have to pay attention. If you read through the Fedora websites and documentation, it will tell you over and over, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, and they're right, And and their website has been one of the most complicated ones. It's very detailed I've ever read, but it also, you just can't hardly. If you want to find out exactly how to do something right, the way they intended it to be done, go to their documentation. A lot of people love to go to forums and stuff and just ask other people, but people tend to just shoot from the hip. Oh, I think it's like this, I think it's like that. And if you don't know who's giving you the good advice or not. So, and I just don't like pouring through all the opinions and all that stuff. And when I could the documentation may be hard to find sometimes, but once you find it, usually it's not that hard. I've kind of learned how to find it, find what I need, but once you find it, you know it's going to be right. So anyway, what it's going to do is reformat the drive to, I wasn't sure because it didn't say what's it going to reformat it to. The other ones like UNet booting and all those, UNet booting, I've got it on this system. It won't run on here in Fedora 29. It crashes. But they would tell you, I don't know if it does, but the ones I grew up on, they would tell you it's going to reformat it. And some of them wouldn't even say, what do you want to reformat it to? You can use FAT16, FAT32, whatever will actually work. And, but anyway, that's what's happening. And I did figure out it's formatting it to FAT32. I got to thinking, well, is it going to format it to ext4? Because that's what Fedora uses, for their main file system. But it's going to be FAT32. So hit restore and keep talking and talking, and I'll talk myself into making mistakes when I'm afraid. But anyway, so reclaim the space, to be restored, factory settings, the live system, all of that will be deleted. You don't need to restore it if you want to write another live system to it. Now, I've never seen it work successfully. See, I tried this. You may lead you to believe you could have two live systems on there, and I thought, okay, so it's going to let you choose which live system you want to use. Well, I've tried it and tried it. I've never seen it work. So you could try it, but you may end up back here doing what I'm saying. So I'm going to restore it. Because every time I've tried to, just add another one, it usually won't boot at all. Or if it does, or actually no, I think it almost always does boot. but it hangs up because what it's doing is what I finally figured out. It's almost seems random as to which, kernel image it's going to boot to. Let's say you had Fedora 28 on there, and then you added Fedora 29, and so it's taking some files from one and some files from the other and putting them together, and everything's a mess. Okay, so that's what seems to be that's happening. So now I'm going to do the custom image again. I do think it's really cool that it's. I think a long time ago, a year or two or three ago, I tried other images besides Fedora, custom images as it says, and it didn't work, but it does now. And so now we're staying on the set and make sure you're still on that right drive, the SanDisk cruiser pattern for me. Of course, now I guess if you don't know, you're not going to see SanDisk cruiser pattern unless you have a SanDisk, cruiser pattern USB stick. That's what it's called because here's another one. I've got an identical one. This is a SanDisk cruiser pattern. See the little pattern on there? That's the name they gave it. That's the name they put in the system, and I don't care how many times you reformat it, that name comes back up, which is fine. You won't lose its name. So now I've lost my window. It followed me. It followed me over here to, oh great. Move back over to Workspace 5, but I'm afraid I'm in trouble. I keep forgetting that this, I hadn't had any trouble with this for a while, and now it's doing that again. Now, I don't trust it when it starts acting crazy like that. See, I can't even get it to move or do anything. I can see the cancel button, so I'm going to do cancel. And it didn't go away, but it won't raise back up either. Let's see if I can close it. There we go. It closed. Now let's see. And make sure I'm on the desktop so you can see that you are seeing what I'm doing. Yeah. Media. Fedora. Okay, so it's not running anymore. Make darn sure it's not running again before you try to open it again. Whatever app you might have trouble with. Alright, Fedora Media Writer. So, let's don't fool around anymore. Now, I don't see the blue message. Well, of course, it's been reformatted now. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. I clicked the 3 dots. Okay, custom image, downloads, Super Grub2 Disk. Now it looks like it should. And it's going to the SanDisk cruiser pattern. Right to disk. It's really strange how these applications sometimes get worse with new releases. It's already finished because it's so small. And see the little message on the right comes up there too. That's what I didn't hardly see earlier. So it's done, and it's that fast because it's only 19 megabytes. But Fedora Media Writer didn't used to. I remember when it very first came out. I don't know if it was Fedora 14 or Fedora 11 or something like that. It was kind of funky like this, and then it got to work. They got it all fixed up, and it worked really good for years and years. And then I don't know, somewhere say around Fedora 23, I remember for a long time it wouldn't work at all. And then it would do things like this. I really do wonder. I'm not a programmer, so I can't really imagine. So I really do wonder what it is that makes it so hard to to make them continue. Once they get them all fleshed out and working really well, what makes it hard to keep them working in the next versions of the same same. I started to say the same operating system, but Fedora is a Linux distro. I was going to say remix, but it's not what they call them. Remix, what they generally call, is like different versions of the same distro. So anyway, that is done. Took forever because I got sidetracked so much, and because I had trouble. All right, the last several times I've done this, it was real smooth and easy. But anyway, I'm going to can just click eject. It's not a good idea in Linux to just pull out SD card, USB sticks, SD cards, or SD cards, in SD cards in a USB adapter. Sometimes it will, if it doesn't damage what's on the stick, it may make your system, the next time you plug it back in, it won't mount right. So unmount, either do the safe, whatever it says, you right click on it, and whatever it says, safely remove or eject. It seems to be different with different types of partitions, I think, really. But anyway, okay, so now I have it, and go ahead and get on my camera too, so you can see what it looks like when it boots up. And gotta remember which. Okay, number one. So I have a KVM switch, which I can switch between 4 different computers, and put it in that Acer laptop and turn it on. Of course, it's probably, you're seeing black because my monitor's black, but as soon as it comes up, you'll see whatever happens here. You won't be able to see it well because I don't have real cameras. I have phone cameras. So okay, here we go. Now detect and show boot methods. That's the default, which is probably what I'm going to use. Enable Grub2's RAID and LVM support. Enable all native disk drivers. Experimental. Boot manually. Extra Grub functionality. Print devices. Partitions. Color on and off. Okay, and then exit. Languages, and if you don't want English, you can see there's some other languages in there. But I'm going to use the detect because hopefully it will. Okay, operating system, Grub CFG. No, let's see. No Grub CFG file detected. No Grub. Menu first. Legacy configurations. No menu list. No core image. Disks, partitions, chain load, HD1. Okay. So I don't think it's seeing the SD card because I believe that is the hard drive. Bootable, there you go. That's what I was talking about. What you used, I can't remember still how to. HD1 MS-DOS. Let's see. Bootable ISOs in boot ISOs or boot. It's in. Well, I'll just read it. I'll read it out. If you bootable ISOs in /boot-ISOs, that's folder, or /boot/boot-ISOs. Yeah, you can have it in /boot-ISO. So you could put a boot ISOs folder on your root folder of the whole system, not the root user, but the root folder of the whole system, or you could put it in boot ISOs. And I used to do that, but you don't need Super Grub Disk to boot to those, or you didn't used to. You could just, like I said, I can't remember. You just I don't know if you hit tab or what you did, but there's a way to get into that menu and then if you have anything in there that supports booting straight from the ISO with Grub2, then you could boot to it. And what that could be good for on your regular system, for instance, would be have an ISO in there that's your rescue system. If something gets broken, as long as you still have your file system, you can boot right in there and work on it. So, yeah, boots and partitions, HD1. I don't know why it says HD1 instead of, it's the proper name is HDO. Well, there's HDO. The first hard drive would be HDO. The second would be HD1. Then the third would be HD2. That's the way Linux names them. But then there's also HD HDA and HDB. So when it says HD1, I'm sure it means the first hard drive, though. I don't know why some people, write it out one way and then the other. There's 3 different ways they write it out. So to take something a bit complicated and make it even more complicated, that's always been done as long as I've been using Linux. Okay, so I could try. I know that's the first hard drive. So if it was seeing the SD card, it would be something else besides HD. I'm almost certain. So I think I'll go back to the main menu instead of having to reboot. Okay, enable Grub. Now I don't have RAID. It does have LVM, but the folders with the boot files in them should be in. I should double check. I think if I remember right, there's a boot partition, an ext4 boot partition in Fedora 28 and 29, and then there's an LVM2 with everything else: root, home, swap. I think that's all that's in there. Let's see, all native disk drives. Let's try that one because that's what I'm trying to do. It says disk drivers. Oh, okay. Well, let's try that. Well, let's try the LVM first because we'll just see. Enable Grub2's RAID. Well, it's going to do it. Okay. I guess that just did it. Okay. Okay, so it did it, and now I'm back to trying to. I see. It's going to enable the extra stuff. We do see something new. We see proc, and then we see HD1 at the bottom there on disks. Let's see. Well, let's look through. Oh wait, no Grub CFG, no Grub CFG, no Grub menu, no core image. Okay, but the proc could be. I don't know. I don't know why SD card would be called proc. I don't know. It may not be what what I'm looking for, but let's just try it and see. Let's see what happens. Error beyond the total sectors. Press any key to continue. Okay, so at least it took me back. Let's try HD1 now, just to see, confirm. Yeah. So, see, I have Grub installed on there, so it's in the Grub rescue mode because there was no operating system on the FAT32 file system for it to boot to. So I'm going to hit Control-Alt-Delete and reboot. I'll try that one other, I think there's just one other feature in there. I guess it's got something to do with this particular laptop. It just, maybe it really just is not going to cooperate with, let's see, enable all native disk drives, experimental, being processed. Press escape to return on the main menu or wait 5 seconds. Okay. Alright, so yeah, those 2 extra, I thought they were going to take you into a whole nother menu, set of menus, but they just enabled those things and then come back to the beginning so you can try it. Okay, so let's just try it. Detect and show boot methods. I've used, like I said, I've used this before, the older, little bit older, well, quite a bit older versions, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it usually works pretty well. Now that's a little unexpected. All we're getting is a black screen. Let's see. I'll hit my arrow keys to see if there's anything. I'll give it a little bit here, but I guess that didn't work. What was it? Oh, I enabled all drivers. It could be taking longer because of enabling all those different drivers. I was thinking that maybe those, whatever all drivers there are in there, you know, there might be one for an SD card. I don't know why it would be a driver needed for that, though. In Linux, They do it more and more now, but in Linux they used to always create drivers as a dirty word. That's for Windows, and we don't use drivers. And they explained why. And I used to kind of be able to regurgitate some of that, but it's been too many years. But that's a weird choice of words, regurgitate. But they don't do it as much as they used to. I guess they got try to explain it to people. I can't remember the right word to use. I kind of think what they used to say is Linux doesn't use drivers, it uses firmware. But don't quote me on that. Anyway, I'm going to hit Control-Alt-Delete. It may be completely hung up. It doesn't seem to be Control-Alt-Deleting. I didn't get completely hung up, lost all, connections to anything, no USB keyboard or nothing. Okay, I'm going to hard shut it down. Taking a while to hard shut down. Finally. Okay. So that one didn't work. And I did spend a lot of time on BIOS the last time I was on this thing, and it does not see the SD card as a boot, option. So that could, what's happening here could mean that it display doesn't work, or it could just mean that Super Grub Disk here too can't see my particular Fedora 29 kernels to boot to them. I think, I'm not sure which one it starts with. I've forgotten which exact file is. I always remembered initrid. It's one of the first things. But anyway, print devices partitions. Let's see what happens. That might put us a list on the screen. Yep. HDO, ISO image. There's a lot listed here. HDO Apple III file system, HFS Plus. It's saying the same one over and over. Then it says no known file system detected. I don't know. I've never looked at this before that I remember. But it's press escape to return to the main menu. I hit the down arrow key thinking I would see some more because it said more. Probably should have hit enter. Now it won't do anything. Hit escape and go back to the main menu. Let's print the devices again, and this time I'll hit enter. Oh, there wasn't really anything more, hardly at all. I hit it twice and it just came up to that same message. There is one thing different at the bottom there. Partition HD1 MS-DOS 1. Sorry. I felt that coming on, so I had gotten a cough drop, but it still didn't stop it. HD1 MS-DOS, that's the type file system FAT32. So HDO, or maybe the USB stick that I'm booted to. That's what I would guess. And it's just not seeing the SD card at all. extra Grub2 functionality. Did I go there already? I guess I didn't actually go there. Serial terminal. No, there's a bunch in there, but I'm not going to try to read them off because of the way my voice is giving me trouble. But that's the one that's LVM support. Turns that on. I do know that Fedora. Now I'll hit the detect and show boot methods. For Fedora uses LVM too. This may be LVM1 support though. I'm not sure. Doesn't specify. It just says LVM, and that's LVM1 was just always just LVM. Yeah, the only difference is it just sees proc, which didn't work, and HD1, which is the hard drive. So it's not going to do it. Exit, halt, reboot. See if it'll shut it down. Yep, it shut it down. So, now I can answer Adrian's question. Yes, I did try Super Grub Disk 2 or Super Grub2 Disk. And for this one, it didn't work. Let me get back on my machine. There's one thing I've intended to do from the start that I haven't done yet, and that's just take that hard drive, have the hard disk out. I didn't think the hard drive was even in it at the beginning. And anyway, I took it out once, but I didn't take it out and install from scratch. Took it out once, and I don't remember what I tried now. I've seen my previous videos. I have 2 previous videos on before this one. But I'm gonna go back to that my video page or here. Yeah, okay, that should make me be able to get back there. I think I was trying to make it easy for myself to get back to it. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So this video is the last one I did on it. It says part 8 because it's kind of a series. The series are, I don't know, sometimes it's hard for me to know what to number them, but I was going back and forth between different machines, but they were tied together, and I think mostly by Fedora 29. But anyway, Fedora 29 server. And so on this one, that's where Adrian left me the good comments. Now that I'm having so much trouble talking, I was going to read them off and answer them, but we'll see what I can do. I don't think I'll be able to read all of that. He said he was going to work on his web page. It was hard for me to find the download links and stuff, and he said he was I want some of the text and stuff. He said he was going to kind of make that a little better because he thought I was right about that. So oh, he says a complaint about bang. Now I know my accent, and sometimes I mumble, and that can be hard to understand, I'm sure. But I said Debain, D-E-B-A-I-N. I spell it wrong. I know how to spell Debain for years, but as soon as I try to do it, This is what I said, domain. Whoops. Yeah, here we go. That's what I said. And it was just kind of one of those side comments. It really didn't. But if you get on the domain website and try to hurry up and find the download links, good luck. You're going to have to do some real reading and pay serious attention. And I mean, it's really good about telling you what it, everything about domain, what it needs. I mean, what am I trying to say? It's good explanations, but if you already know what it is and you just want to go download, and that's what I was trying to say. I'm going to put that. It doesn't look like I have domain 9. Sometimes I don't have a lot of bookmarks on this new system, this new Fedora 28 system, because it's if I import all my old bookmarks, which I would like to do, it slows down, makes the system work too hard. Oddly enough, bookmarks really slow down Firefox when you have like 3,500 plus bookmarks. I was wondering just now that I got on here. Okay, domain 9.8. Yeah, that's where they're at. Okay, now maybe that's not new, but I think it's new. Having that link right there, that's pretty cool. So maybe other people over the years, but they do have a lot of links right here at the top. That I think they've redesigned this site quite a bit. But anyway, that was what I was saying. Is it's kind of funny that people who he uses domain to make his Rescatux system. This is what we're talking about here. He's talking about Rescatux, not the one I just got through using, Super Grub2 Disk. They do both of those. And let's see. I think if I go to Super Grub2 Disk 2, I might be able to get to Rescatux since I'm talking about that. Let's see. That's not a link up there. Here we go. So this is what we're talking about, Rescatux. I've always called it Rescatux because that's what it does. But I did spell it. I spell it Rescatux, trying to do it out of my memory, and I thought that was how maybe they did it. And so anyway, this one is has a full domain operating system. I don't know which version it is, but and it will do a lot of things. It will reset passwords and Linux and Windows, and do a lot of cool stuff. But anyway, I had trouble finding the download links on this page, and that was what I was talking about up there above that. But anyway, and I expected it to just, most Linux distros, live Linux distros, automatically log in, and I guess he was surprised that I don't know if he was surprised or what, but anyway, he was saying that you can choose your keyboard and stuff like that there. Well, I didn't see that. All I saw was and in my video you couldn't see it all, because not only, if you saw a while ago that it's pretty blurry because my camera, when I use digital zoom on a phone camera, which is all I have to use, it gets blurry, so you can't read any of the text I'm trying to show. Well, I didn't even that day. I actually usually don't hardly ever do that, but I had it zoom. I just left it zoomed out to show the monitor and the laptop because I knew I had to just explain everything anyway. I couldn't show it, so that's the video he watched, and this one here that the comments are on, and so I noticed when I was looking back, I went to each one of these links, time links he put in there, and watched through, see what he was talking about, because most of it I didn't remember anyway. And in the video, I mean, you can barely even see that there's a white rectangular there. But most of the ones, when they're an auto login, they have a little countdown, something to give you the idea that it's counting down. Some of them don't. A lot of them don't in the last couple of years, and so you just like sitting there going, well, is it going to auto log in, or do I have to click? And you don't want to just click on it if it's going to auto log in, because most of the time it will mess it up and it won't boot right. So learn that the hard way. So that's what I was kind of commenting on. I don't really care, you know, I mean, just want to know what's going on. But here's the thing, I'm on a laptop with a VGA cable plugged in to go to my monitor because the screen on that laptop is broken. You can only see the top left corner of it, just enough to, like, you know, set up the VGA if you need to. It's set up automatically in Rescatux, and it's set up automatically. And Fedora 29 doesn't have a GUI. I mean, you can I put one on my other one, but this one, it's just a terminal anyway. But I never booted into it yet anyway. But well, I booted to Fedora 28, and I think I did have to change the you know, the video settings, the display settings, in order to make it. Yeah, I changed it so that it would be what I wanted on the monitor. I think it would showed up, but what happens a lot of times is the laptop screen will be, depending on the operating system you're booting to, the laptop screen will be the main, and then the monitor that you have plugged in will be the secondary, and you won't see the navigation, you know, you won't see the applications like stuff like I got here, you know, you won't see any of that stuff. But you can make it happen by changing this, making the monitor the default, and make the laptop be the secondary. So anyway, just enough left in there for you to see that top left corner and do that stuff. So that was added, you know, that added to my wondering what was going on, because at first I didn't think about it because I'd forgotten that might be a problem after working on it for several hours. But changing, you know, what I was booting to and stuff. But now I don't exactly remember. Well, okay, so here's what we do. Okay, we'll click on this, and let's see. This is what we're talking about. At least they're good at, oh, I see a little login deal. Let's see if it's going to do it automatically. At least they, oh, it's, yeah, it's, I see some, oh, there's more menus, English, United States. So usually, most of the time they log in automatically, and if you interrupt them, sometimes it even messes them up, so always try to wait. At least there is one there, because if it was over there on the laptop screen, I wouldn't be able to see it. I wouldn't even know it was there. So, yeah, just kind of a side comment I was making about my particular system there. But, and he would like to see a high resolution screenshot. Yeah, once I got into the application, usually you're supposed to, he says usually you're supposed to choose the one that shows your operating system name and version, probably a logical volume one. It's nice to be able to detect SD partition while it is not designed with those kind of device file names in mind. The code is aging pretty well. So I think it sounds like he was saying, you know, it's nice to see that it works, but it was not designed for SD cards. You know, they didn't have that in mind when they were designing it. So, oh, it can't see it because it's an LVM and all of that. Here's the thing, though. Okay, so this is the menu we're talking about, and of course, you would be able to tell more. What he would be been able to have told a lot more, but it still would be too blurry to read, really, if I was zoomed in on it. But I wasn't. That's just the way I decided to do that video that day. I had no idea what I was going to get into, and it wasn't supposed to be more. To me, I thought it'd be about 30 minutes, you know, or maybe an hour, but it was like 3.5 hours, 3 hours and 13 minutes or something. I kept doing that, messing with it. But yeah, it showed a whole bunch of stuff, and I was surprised. And he said it sounds like he was surprised too. He'd like to know what all that is. I didn't I might have tried to make a screenshot, but in this live system, I know I didn't save it. Even if I did make a screenshot, I like to do that a lot. When I'm working on stuff and trying to figure things out, I'll do screenshots. And most live systems will, you can just hit print screen in most Linux systems these days, and it'll do a screenshot. Then you may have to, well, it usually either saves it to your home directory or your home pictures or whatever is in that system. I have mine sent to, customized to go to a screenshot folder. Anyway, what I do remember is that it had, it did see my SD card, and it saw 3 partitions, which makes sense. But I tried booting to them and it didn't work. So I would have to do it again for him to be able to see that. I can't, I don't have a way to get a picture of that that's viewable, readable, other than the video. Let's see. So there's the answer on that. Of course, like I said, earlier in the beginning of the video, he was mentioning he'd like to get together online and help me work through that, basically. And so if we can work that out, then I'll try to figure out a way to make it be able. If I could set up remote desktop to that, I could probably run. I've done it before. Run VNC server, VNC remote desktop app server on a live system, so that I could make a really nice video of it. If I did that, if it would run in the Rescatux, the Bane Rescatux version, whatever it is, I do know that the one I was using wouldn't run in 64-bit, it would only run in 32-bit. I used to use TeamViewer, but I got tired of messing with that because it was so invasive in tracking you. I don't like that. So, and it didn't always work well. And same thing, they had a live version that would run in 32-bit but not 64-bit. I can't remember all the details of all that. I'd have to try it again to find out for sure. And then he mentioned there's an interesting bug on Ubuntu with ext4 file systems, and he wondered if Rescatux is not detecting stuff properly there. Okay, so let's look at the bug. Close that page now. Here's the bug. I went and looked at it earlier. Of course, I'm doing Fedora. I have my system as Fedora 29. It wasn't installed with a Ubuntu installer, installed with Fedora 29 installer, so it should be quite different. They generally are. Not only is Fedora and Debian quite different the way they do things, but Fedora and Ubuntu is really quite different. So, but I do not know all the, all these sort of things. That's above my pay grade there. So, I don't know all. I'm not a programmer or anything, but it says that I know enough to kind of get what they're talking about. Talking about metadata check CSUM. That's going to be checksum, I'm pretty sure. On the sets of metadata checksum on the ext4 partition, which is incompatible with other LTS Ubuntu versions. So So I'm not going to try to read that all out because it seems like I'm beginning to just mumble stuff and not. I'm with problems with my. I'm tired. I'm getting tired again, and with my coughing, I'm on the edge of coughing all the time. So this right here, if you're interested, see, I'm not really interested in this because it's to do with Ubuntu, and I don't use Ubuntu. I use Debian and Fedora. So. And that sounds like a specific Ubuntu thing. Ubuntu is a remix of Debian, but but it's remixed so much that it's quite a bit different. Okay, so wonders if Rescatux is not detecting stuff properly. It's related to, oh, he wonders if it's related to the checksum option. He has no idea if Rescatux 51.3b even supports that option. Okay, let's kind of see. Well, he says anyways, I need to release a proper new Rescatux release soon. Some work had been done on the Git version for working with newer versions of Debian, but it's a bit on a stall. So, oh, it can't see it because it's an LVM and all that. Here's the thing, though. I remember. Okay, so that's right back to the same place. Being, I think it was OP1. What showed up in the other, but there's an MMC BLKO as well. There's an MMC BLKO and then BLKO P1, BLKO P2. So, well, this is where we're gonna install Grub. So I think, okay, so yeah, well, to me, from what I saw there, it actually did, like he said, it wasn't intended to support, but it saw my, what I remember is, and what I was surprised about there is that it saw my SD card, all the partitions on my SD card. It actually saw 3, which what I would really expect is 2, a boot partition, ext4 boot partition, and then an LVM2 which contains inside of it, and that's what makes it tricky for other tools like Debian-based tools, because Debian-based tools don't mount LVM, even LVM1s, much less LVM2s by default. I think I'm almost certain you can mount them manually if you know how in the command line, but you'd have to go learn how to do it. But inside the LVM2, I've looked at it several times in Fedora 28 and 29. They put the root, the home, and the swap partition inside of that LVM2. And so there's really just two partitions that show up. I could show it in, let me see. Show it in, I can show this system, it's Fedora 28. So we'll show it in this disk management app here. Now here's my main hard drive. Okay, now when you see, this is what you see when you just look at the hard drive. You'll see the 1.1 gigabyte ext4 dev SDA1, and then you'll see dev SDA2 as LVM2 PV. And now if you get inside of those, okay, now let me see, there's my 8 terabyte backup, my 5 terabyte backup, 54 gigabyte block device. That is my root partition. That's inside of that LVM. 4.1 gigabyte device is the swap inside of that LVM2. And then the 191 gigabyte device is my home partition. All three of those are inside of this one here, the LVM2. Now that makes it a whole nother thing for, you know, the older, one thing like the older G-parted, the older versions of G-parted, they just don't know what to do with that at all. But it makes it all different for, like, if you're actually going to work on these, like, I'm not going to be doing that, but if you're going to resize them or anything like that, or, well, here's the thing, mounting them, I can't even, I'm trying to imagine how to say it to Adrian, because he knows all this stuff that I don't know, but I'm trying to imagine what, you know, how much different it would be for him to set it up to mount these partitions so that you can read them, so that you can boot to the kernels inside of these partitions. What's inside of here is going to be Grub, and let's see, is it mounted? See, that's the boot partition, mounted at boot. I don't want to click on anything in here that I'm not quite sure what it does. I don't use this one much. I use gparted, but I don't want, that's my operating system. I don't want to break it, but I think you can just go in there. I think I can just go in there. I mean, I could go in there in Crusader and root mode, but I think I can just go to boot. I believe that's that partition. That's what I'm trying to say. So what do you have in there? You've got Grub. Yeah, you can't go in that folder, but okay, yeah, you've got your iNet RAM FS, your VM LUZ. So yeah, these are your kernels, right? Yeah. So that's what's. So yeah, okay. So it wouldn't be as hard. He was saying things about LVMs and stuff. So I thought that you were going to have to mount the LVMs in order to. We still have to be mounted during the boot, but I think the. So if you can get it, if you can mount this ext4, I would think that you'd be able to, you know, get into Grub, get it to run, and then during the mount, you know, the booting process, it's going to mount the LVM2s and everything else by the Fedora 29 system. Will do that. You wouldn't have to do that with any external system. And see, my whole thing, what I was trying to do was the last thing I was trying to do was a workaround by having Grub2 on the hard drive and have it, since the BIOS can see that, and have it boot to Grub2 on the SD card, which didn't work either. That was my workaround I was trying to do, but and that's why I was using these tools. Well, actually, at this point, what I was doing was trying to use Rescatux to install Grub2 on the SD card. Since the last time I installed it, I had the installer install Grub on the hard drive, not on the SD card. So I knew I needed Grub2 installed on the SD card to try to get it to boot with my workaround, but that wasn't working. So but yeah, there is, if I remember right, Grub1 used to write some files. Sometimes they would say install. You used to actually see the option, install Grub to the MBR. Do you want to do that? You know, the master boot record, which is small. And what I finally figured out over the years was it really just writes some files in there that point to a partition just like that one I showed, that ext4. It would have been ext2 or 3 years ago with Grub1. And the boot partition, since 2005, Fedora and Debian both have a boot partition, and that's set side by itself for those files or something similar to that. And so anyway, if you did say, if you used one of these tools and you did what they, the option that said install Grub to the MBR, and what it really did was write some files that pointed to the boot partition from the MBR. But of course, this is not a UEFI, whichever you're supposed to say it, system. So that's not a concern or anything. That's a whole other can of worms. But the BIOS I'm talking about doesn't have that new Microsoft BIOS, but it restricts a lot of things that you could do. But yeah, cop for the supposed security. But just really security from making it hard to install other operating systems. But anyway, I won't go all into that. But so that was what I was doing, and where I was, what I, finally gave up on. Saw that it wasn't going to work, and so then he said, "Did you finally ever tried Super Grub2 Disk?" Said he hadn't watched the whole video, but focused mainly on the Rescatux part, and he really did. He really looked through it and really paid attention. Let's see. If the SD card is detected by Grub because the BIOS offers it, then the Super Grub2 Disk should be able to boot it because it can bypass Grub configurations, which you say is not installed, and boot into the kernels directly, which is what I just tried to do before I got to this point of the video. I tried to go ahead and use Super. No, I hadn't done it, but that's what I just did in the beginning of this video. I should have read that over again, because it just told me that what I was trying to do most likely wasn't going to work. Oh, well, really wasn't going to work. Because I already knew that the BIOS was not seeing my SD card. I went through that over several times, and my video before the one I'm looking at the comments on even. I went back and looked through it earlier today too, or last night actually. Been up all night again, but so yeah, I didn't remember that the SD card needed to be seen by the BIOS for this to work. The Super Grub2 to point to it and everything. So I guess that's why it didn't work. And then he says about installing OS2 and SD. It is a bit complex. Yeah, it really is. First of all, you need the BIOS to be able to boot from the SD card. Then you need the OS to recognize the SD card and being able to install there, which I had no problem with that. Fedora 29 installed there just fine. But my BIOS does not see it. I've never. I just need to. I guess I just need to just try it. Probably won't work, but take the hard drive out and see if it suddenly decides, oh, there's the drive. Because I know at least one machine I had did that. I don't remember which one. Some SD cards do not have a partition table. The full SD is one partition, and that's it. Yeah. A lot of them are that way until you reformat them. And I didn't do it manually. I let Fedora 29 do it for me. But you can. I've done it before, I fiddle around, mostly with USB sticks, but it's kind of the same principle. Make a small partition at the beginning of whatever file system, say ext4. Install Grub on it, and then make the rest of it FAT32 and put a multi-boot ISO system on the rest of it. I've done that before. I'm sure he knows a lot more about this than I do, but because he builds, this is what he does. He writes his boot rescue systems, So, with my itchy throat and trying to cough all the time and everything, it really throws me off. Okay, so because I had to get a drink right in the middle of a sentence. So do not have a partition table. Yeah, okay, so now that's something I hadn't thought about. Hard drives have a partition table. I'm going to go gparted here. And this machine doesn't have an SD card slot, so I can't put it in here. I was just sitting there thinking I could look at this thing, and I can't put it in my USB adapter though. I think I will. Let's open it up. I'm going to take it out of the this big SD card adapter and put it in my USB adapter. showed that before, so well, that's just taking its time doing the scanning, isn't it? Okay, so I've already taken it out. Uh-oh, my camera looks like it's frozen. Dang it. Why is the camera frozen? See if camera 2 is working. Yeah, it's working. Camera 1 is just flat frozen. I have no idea why. That usually doesn't happen. These are phones streaming their cameras over the Wi-Fi, and usually that doesn't happen. They get behind, but they don't usually freeze. But if I hold this up over my head, I don't know if I can get it in the right place. So that's the SD card. It's just a dark thing, but that's the SD card adapter. And the SD card is tiny, you know, the little micro SD cards. And I'm afraid I'm going to drop it. Now I already have another different one, same brand, same size, that came out of my phone in the USB adapter. Get it out of there. If there's a good place to put that where it'll show up or not. So now I'll put the one that has Super Grub. What do I have in there? Super Grub disk. No, this is the one with Fedora 29. Yeah. Yeah, Fedora 29. Put it in the machine. Go back on the desktop again. Uh-oh. It's taking forever to scan partitions. I don't know if it's doing that because I unmounted my big hard drives or what. I'm going to close it because it's going to have to rescan again anyway. Might be able to look at it with that other tool. Let's try that other tool first. Yeah, it mounted up just fine. It has a 1.1 gigabyte volume. That is the boot. Has an EFI folder. Grub2 has the RAM FS config system map VM LINUZ VM LINUZ 42010. Okay, that's the kernel right there, and that's the rescue kernel. And then there's a 16 gigabyte volume. Which I'm going to have to put in the password to mount it, but that's all right. Let's look at it. Okay, now this is the rest of the operating system. Now, I don't like that file manager, so let's open up Crusader. Look at it in there. See, now it's 16 gigabyte volume. There's where I just was. What was that? This is the Grub. And see, there's more stuff showing up in Crusader because it shows all files. It doesn't have any that it doesn't show. It shows all system files and everything. And okay, now in here it shows to be 15 gigabyte. But let's go in alphabetical order so that we can see. There's the boot. But it didn't show any files. Well, I'm under user Dawn. I might have to get into. Yeah, I did make me a user, but it doesn't have any. Let's see, where's the website? And var, yeah, var www. That's where I would put my website. Well, actually, right there. But there's nothing in there. I think maybe. Oh yeah, I don't. The server edition, when you don't put a GUI. Like, you know, my desktop or something in it, it may not put any home folders or anything, you know, documents or anything like that. What I can do, though, is go ahead and get into Crusader in root mode. And then close that so I don't have as many things running on this system. Now when I go into boot, it still shows to be empty. That's weird. That should be that boot partition. I don't know why it's not going straight to, I don't know, sometimes it does that. I have not bothered to figure all that out. If you do that, then you're in there. And now I could actually, you know, change those files, which I don't want to do. But but the boot partition's there, but it does not have Grub installed anywhere. I didn't do this the first time I installed it to make sure that it had everything it needed to boot. I just now thought, yeah, when he said partition, what do you say? Partition table or something? Yeah, partition table got me to thinking. Basically, well, for instance, last time about the MBR. Most people that are familiar with anything like this are familiar with the MBR, Master Boot Record. I can't remember. I can't explain it because I can't remember it well enough. But the partition table, let's see, where am I? I forgot where I went. I'm not in the. I'm at my home. I went out of where I was at. Well, that's my regular home directory, so I've gotten off from where I was going. Gotta pay attention. Yeah, one of these is my my system, and the other one is the I think the one with the long, yeah, the one with the long code, bunch of code. That's the USB stick. I mean SD card. Yeah, I made it harder, didn't I? Yeah, run media dawn. So now this is, yeah, this is the one that she doesn't have any folders or anything. And the boot, it's not going, it's showing to be empty, but it's not empty. That's what I was saying. That's weird. Because that boot, now if you were in a running system and you went in there, then, and assuming you have permissions like I'm using root mode Crusader, then you would see the files just like that if you went there. But for some reason, when you mount them in USB sticks or SD cards, it'll do things like that. Don't know why. So anyway, yeah, everything is there. But yeah, when he said that about partition table, then it got me to thinking. You can't just write a partition table to one that's already there, because it will erase everything. Let's see. Trying to go back to just do that for now because I'm going to close it. I just didn't want to be in there. Okay, so let's try gpart it again. I don't know. It probably won't. I don't think it's going to open up any faster. Well, I'll let it try to scan. It did this a week or so ago. I was doing some stuff like this, and it just scanned and scanned and scanned forever, and it did finally come up. And I thought it was because of my backup drives, you know, being so big. But then I opened it up a few days later, and it didn't take forever like that. So I don't know what the deal is. Of course, I don't. Well, they're still there. gpart is going to see them, even though they're not mounted. That's what it's for. You actually don't want to edit partitions on a mounted drive. You always want to unmount them first. Let's see. So I'll let that keep scanning while I kind of look in here. Okay. 32 gigabyte mass storage device. Okay. So see, it has a 1.1 gigabyte ext4. That's that boot partition. And then the 31 gigabyte LVM2 PV. I don't know what the PV stands for. LVM is logical volume management. Logical volume management. And 2 is the new, second version, the newest version of it. And you have to kind of pick around, and you got to kind of know your system, know which ones are which. Well, you can read it, and generally you figure it out by reading what it says. That one says Lenovo i5. That's the name of the system, so I know that's my root. That's a Lenovo i5 swap, and then that's the Lenovo i5 home. And now over here, that's a swap, but that says Bishop Co. Acer. So that's the name I gave it. So that's the swap partition inside of that LVM2 on that SD card. 16 gigabyte block device, Bishop Co. 2 Acer root. I don't think I saw a home for that. Did I miss it? Maybe there's. I know that my. I think I know that my when I have Fedora 20. I've been running it for quite a while now, a couple of months. Fedora 29 server on my NetPro Max machine, but then what went wrong with it? Oh, the network, the onboard network quit working one day, a week or so ago. That's why I'm all at this again. I was about ready to go. It was loud and making heat, and I was going to put it out in the garage, but I wanted to install a couple more apps and stuff, and then all of a sudden one day and I hadn't done that yet, and one day the network just quit working. It was off. I noticed my server was offline and my website was offline. Okay, now that's curious. There's a root partition, because I'm expecting there should be a home partition, even though just because it's a server, I don't remember it not having a home partition. Unless I didn't make a regular user, user Don, but I think I did. Unless I forgot to do it that time. It could be possible I forgot to do it. I really thought I did, though. But anyway, whatever the case is, that's what's there. And whatever you have, you're going to have swap and root, and on a regular machine, you're going to have your regular user, and you're going to have also a home partition inside the LVM2. But that's something you can't see, as far as I know, in let's go to that. In this case, go to here. That way I can kind of look around without being worried about breaking my operating system. Okay, so this is the SD card. I've selected the boot partition, format, resize, check file system repair. Yeah, I didn't think there was anything in there to create a partition table. Gparted can do that, but we can't look at it right now. It's just still scanning like forever. SDC, how far is that? Let's see. SDA would be the hard disk, and then this is SDB1. This is SDC1. Oh, it's done. Okay. Good. Okay, so I'm going to close this one, and we'll look in Gparted now. So this is my operating system, Lenovo i5, and CXT4 boot, and then LVM2. That's what only thing that departed C's. SDC is my 8 terabyte drive. SDB, I'm sorry. SDC is the the 5 terabyte drive. You see, it's a mark. I did not change it. I left it as default, and it has a. This is a reserved partition, a hidden partition. Microsoft Reserve. It's an MS. You see, it's labeled there, or a flag, I guess. MS F3RES, and then the NTFS, where the data is NMS FT data, and the flags are, let's see, unable to detect the file system. Now, it's not damaged or anything, but it's just that departed doesn't really work with that file system. Unable to read the contents of the file system because some of the operations are unavailable. So maybe I don't have NTFS 3G and NTFS progs installed. I'm not sure on this system. But anyway, not trying to work with it. Get off of it or mess it up. Okay, so now here is my. This is the auto-generated name because I didn't give it one of myself. Well, you don't really do. I use installing with Fedora installer. You know, I use the automatic partitioning, so it did it like that. But for what I'm trying to say is, I gave it's gone. But the 8 terabyte backup drive, I actually in here. See, did I use? Yeah, I used departed. For my partitioning, I always use departed because it's a lot more dependable than that other app that comes with Fedora. Actually, that other one, that's the older one, I think. I think it's Genome Disks. There's one that they're using now. What's it called? Livet GUI. And the one I was looking at is I think it's Genome Disks is what it is. I won't open that. I may open that Livet GUI, but I'll close this first. But anyway, what he said there, finally it's kind of sinking into me. Some SD cards do not have a partition table, and I remember messing around with SD. Well, I don't know if it was SD card or USB that I was messing around with, but trying to make them boot. I was trying to make multi-boot systems. What I was trying to do, and trying to get them to boot to trying to install Grub and get it to work on them properly. And let's see. I don't see create a partition table in there. There it is, create a partition table. Now, yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm on the right place that I can't hurt my operating system or my backup drives. I'm not going to do it. Okay, 2 partitions are currently active. Cannot be created. Our new partition table cannot be created when there are active partitions. Active partitions are those that are in use, such as mounted, file system enabled, swap space. Use menu options such as unmount or swap off to deactivate all partitions before creating new partition table. Okay, now I'll just do that. guess I'll have to. Well, there's unmount right there. Or you can write. Usually, what I do is see, like, okay, for instance, that one is an LVM, and you don't. You usually can't mount and unmount them. I don't think you can. You just activate and deactivate them. So if I deactivate it, but it said it could not deactivate it. Contains the file system in use, probably because I mounted it and was looking through the files and all that. So you may do it anyway. Be careful here, fiddling around with these things in my system with everything that's important on it. Doing things like this, sometimes I'll go get on a live system on a different machine just to make sure I can't screw things up. I'm not going to write that partition table. I just wanted to kind of look at it and also demonstrate what we're talking about here. Looks like it's rescanning all the, no, just to the dev SDC. Okay. Now, I was trying to remember what should I do first, unmount the ext4 or deactivate the LVM, and I thought I should deactivate the LVM. Well, it wouldn't have really mattered because what my problem was is I had them mounted. Actually, what I should have done is unmount them. I should have right-clicked and unmounted. I'm not going to do anything now while it's in the middle of trying to refresh it, but I should have right-clicked right there and unmounted. Unmounted both of those, and then I could have looked through those menus and everything. But yeah, I'm thinking that maybe if I created a partition table and then installed Fedora 29 on it, it just might work and the BIOS might see it. That may be exactly why the BIOS doesn't see it. I was thinking that the partition tables would just get automatically put on there, you know, everything needed. I wasn't even thinking specifically about partition tables, but I was just thinking everything needed would be put on by the Fedora installer. But normally you install on hard drives, you know, and they already have a partition table, and it doesn't disturb that. Now that I'm thinking about it, now that it finally comes, now that thank you for reminding me, Adrian. Okay, while that's doing that, I'm having trouble with everything, so I gotta take care of my nose and stuff. Can't see though. All right. It's taking forever, isn't it? I was really tempted to close it and open it back up, but heck, you remember how long it took to scan everything a while ago. I think it's just for some, I don't know why. One time it scans the whole, with all these hard drives in it and everything, it scans really fast, and another time it scans really slow. It's been doing that. Okay, now it did it. Okay, let's just see if it's still, yeah, it's still activated. Now I could unmount that one from there, no problem, but this one, you can't do it in there, but you can do it from the desktop icon. I don't know why. And I'm just going to do them both. Oh, that says eject, so let's don't do that. It's probably just going to unmount it, but let's just, now there's a deactivate. Now let's go ahead and unmount this one. Sometimes with some USB sticks and stuff, if you unmount all the partitions, it disappears from Gparted and you can't see it anymore. It's really kind of funky the way flash memory, USB, SD cards, they act really funky sometimes. and one will do one thing and another one will do another. And I have trouble remembering what's what. I mean, like I said, these SanDisk. Oh, this is not the SanDisk. Yeah, this is the SanDisk ESPs I've had for years and years. They're good ones. They're still working. It's scanning again, but after I unmounted it there, but this is the 32 gigabyte Wintech 32 gigabyte SD card, micro SD. They've been good. I've got two Wintechs that are 32 gigabyte that I got for a good price. What was it, $10 or $12? And then it was either 15 or not. I got two 64 gigabyte Strontium, and that's where I got the extra adapters, the USB adapters and stuff. Two of those. Bought them all for the phones, but they ended up with an extra one. Well, actually, I think I bought another one when I realized. No. Yeah, I don't remember why. I guess I just got an extra one because I wanted to have one to use. Once I saw those USB adapters, I think is why I did that. Because they were cheaper than, anyway, they were $15 or $19 for 64 gigabytes. So two of them, those are still in the two phones that I'm using right now for my cameras. And then the one that was in the adapter that's laying on the desk right now is the one that was in phone 3. And I don't want to mess it up. I can write files to it and stuff, but it's formatted FAT32, and it has, all my apps that I moved to it when it was in the phone. It has files and stuff, mostly the apps and stuff, all this data to go with the phone. I've written a file here or two to it since I took it out. I took it out so that I could use it for stuff like that, because when the battery went bad on that phone 3, I thought, well, I paid $15 for the phones, each one of them, back several years ago now, and I hated to spend $16 for a battery, but they really kind of are worth it. So I may end up doing it. But what I was really thinking is, if I'm not even going to spend any money at all, I'll buy a real camera, some kind of camera. Put that money towards the camera, But checked my streaming at a long time. I just now looked. The machine had gone to sleep. It's supposed to be green and good, but the preview's gone. Quit playing, so I'll reload it. I hate it when my drainage gets so bad that I can't hardly talk or anything. Okay. While that's taking a long time to reload, I'm going ahead and take care of this preview business and all that. Make sure everything's still working over there. Okay, so what do I see? I think I may have been missing. See, I don't. my laptop, especially now, because I have the Acer up where my laptop usually is, the one I monitor my stream with. Nobody hardly ever says anything to me on here. Let's see. And I think I have a whole bunch of chat information in there now. It could be. I was telling myself, let's see, or if it might be, I can't read the laptop screen, it's too. Okay, yeah. I'm thinking it might be, yeah, it's Adrian. Hey, Adrian. Well, I finally saw your chat. Sorry, I'm not in the habit of watching them, and I can't, the way I'm set up, I have to disconnect it and reconnect it. Well, great. I don't know if it's going to be broken now or what. I do have like up to about a minute for it to reconnect. Seems to have reconnected. Okay, so saw your comment. Okay, I'm at work. Might be available in 3 hours. What time was that? It doesn't say. A video in the background and might say something from time to time. Oh, okay, cool. Super Grub Disk 2. You can reply on the video itself, not in YouTube Creator Studio. So I guess the bottom one might be available in 1 hour 20 minutes. Okay, so I guess you're there now, right? Super Grub is 2 stable, newer than the stable one. Super Grub2 Disk current, stable, newer than the stable one. Oh, current, right. Okay. Well, I used the beta is what I did. 202S9. I'll have to look at all that. Hello. Yeah, he's finally wondering where I'm at. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well. Okay, so I think he's there right now, but I'm not good at this chat and stuff. I actually never use chat hardly at all. But yeah, that one on the laptop doesn't automatically page down like this one's doing either. Oh, I got to get down there. I guess it would. It's too small for me to read, though. Okay, so, well, thanks for your help, Adrian, and thanks for watching here through this, especially. Yeah, I guess you might have saw that I was trying to. I was looking at one of the things you said about a partition table, and I realized that I probably don't believe I have a partition table on this 32 gigabyte SD card. I'm looking at it here in Gparted, and after fiddling around and mucking around about forgetting what to do, okay, so I've got it unmounted. I'm going to try deactivating it, and let's see. I'll have to unmount the ext4 and deactivate, but it's taking forever to refresh every time I do it. But So yeah, now I can deactivate it because I unmounted it. It was mounted because I'd been looking through the files. And after I unmount it, I may just go ahead and... But if I remember right, you can probably refresh my memory. If I remember right, I can't... if I write a partition table, it will just erase everything that's on there. But what I was kind of thinking is I can write a partition table to it with gparted, and then reinstall Fedora 29 with the, the installer, Fedora 29 installer, and maybe the thing would actually be recognized by the BIOS in that laptop then. I wonder if that's a good plan. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't. It has to have a partition table to even be able to write files to it, doesn't it? Right. Yeah, you said it's an MS-DOS one and it's fine. That's what I always use for all my Linux stuff. But for some reason it said it's hiding one of your comments. Okay. GK sudo gparted. Well, I don't do that stuff on the command line. It's too tricky. I could mess up my whole operating system or my backup drives. I use gparted. Anything that tricky, I'd never do in the command line. I'm not good enough. I make mistakes too easily. Well, true. And I don't know why gparted. It is taking a long time. I don't know why it's so slow today. Normally it hasn't been, but this is the second time it's done that in the last month. It's usually really quick. Probably if I rebooted the system and started back at this again, then it would be fine. That's what happened last time anyway. But I had thought the last time when it did it was because I had these two big old backup hard drives. I've got a 5 terabyte, which has only got like 2 terabyte left, and an 8 terabyte with, well, the same amount of data on it. It's just a copy of the 5 terabyte. But of course, in order to reboot, I may need to do that anyway. I think my camera 1 is frozen. Yep, it froze up on me. I need to reboot everything is what I need to do. Been going to, sometimes just things go wrong. Today's one of those days. But, SDC. Oh, you think so, huh? That would be the, I don't remember, it's one of the backup drives. How do you figure out which drive just from watching this video? You're pretty good. But actually, so if it already has the, I guess you can see that probably up in this window, and I didn't notice it, that it has the MS-DOS partition table. Yeah, if it already has it, then then there's no point in doing anything else to it in gparted. Don't see it though. Might have been there whenever I was flipping through the menus. I forget everything. But oh, okay. Searching dev SGC partitions. Now I see it. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that on there. It's finally done. Okay. You know what? I can fix that. It doesn't. I've already got my backup drives unmounted. Let's see. I can unplug them, the USB cables. What I'm trying to think is, do I need to? Yeah, I guess I'm trying to remember if it. I have to be careful with that. I'll just get over here and show what I'm talking about as much as I can. Yeah, see, I can't, unless I'm doing a desktop, I can't show you a very good view. But my backup drives are over there. And get on my lapels now. Pick one. Yeah. All right. Mounted. That would have been a. It's scary when you think you might have lost all your backups. That's why I went to ext4 this time. And hopefully I will. And once I have everything. I mean, I have everything backed up, but at some point I may get back on my SM58. I don't like the sound of those lapels. Where am I? Okay, at some point, I would like to change that 5 terabyte to ext4, or I even thought about using it as an operating system drive, taking it out of the box and stuff. But anyway, now this one should be it's deactivated. Now I can. This one's already unmounted. But I don't need to do that now. Okay. So I was showing it. Yeah, warning, this will erase all data. That's what I thought. Okay, AMS-DOS. This is the way I've always done it because, well, most of the others I have no use for, or some of them I don't even know really what, I've never worked with a Sun system or a PC98, not quite sure what it is. Amiga, it's a game system, I know that. Atari, So anyway, I do know for sure for years that MS-DOS is what you want to use with Linux and Windows. But I don't need to do that, though. Adrian said, let's make sure everything's working on my screen. I think my preview of my stream quit playing again. Okay, well, it shows to be green, and I have audio. When I start switching things around, I can really mess up and get things wrong. So triple check. Okay. Okay. Oh, he typed some stuff I didn't see. Install Fedora, chooses to boot partition to the new partition on your faulty internal hard. Now, I already tried that. That was the last thing I tried. That's the way it is right now. I installed Grub onto the hard disk because I knew the BIOS could see that, and installed the operating system on the SD card, which is what I was looking through. And then I went to trying to use, Rescatux and all that to try and get. Thought it would be an easy way to get Grub installed on the SD card. Okay, now it's showing me some more stuff. Okay. Bottom part. Use your current video URL and paste it. It's much easier to read. Oh, easier to read the chat? This is probably true. Oh, easier to read the chat? This is probably true. Here we go. Yeah, I think it might be. And I'll just pause the video so that it's not playing in my ear. Okay. Yeah, I would read it on my laptop, off video, but I can't. It's too small for me to read this. My eyes aren't that good. But anyway, especially with it about 3-4 feet away from me. Okay. Here you go. Let's see. Enjoy. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me see. Okay. So that's what I was saying a second ago or a minute ago was. So I used Fedora 29. Net install is what I've been using, and I like that because I can do a VNC remote desktop and make a video of it, and for other reasons. But so I installed Grub onto the hard drive. I used both drives in the system. Installed Grub onto the hard drive, and then had the Fedora 29 installed on the SD card, which is what I was looking through there on the disk, editing apps and stuff. And I was trying to use Rescatux to install Grub onto the SD card, so I could, do a daisy chain, a boot chain. The BIOS sees the hard drive, and then it points. Then I was going to point the Grub on the hard drive to the SD card. That was my plan, but I haven't been able to get that to work. I already tried it another way by installing. The first time I did it, I had everything installed on the SD card. That worked just fine. And then I went and booted to Fedora 28 Live and installed Grub on the Grub2 on the hard drive, but it just didn't see the SD card, and I don't know enough about how to edit Grub menus to change it. I used to do it in Grub 1, but I was pretty. It's actually, well, I ran grub make config, and it should have fixed it, I thought, but it didn't. And just manually edit them in Grub 2. I tried it before. It's hard. Three dots, open a new window. You might want to make text bigger in that new window. Oh, the chat thing? Pop out chat and all that stuff? Yeah. Yeah, I could do that on the laptop, couldn't I? Except for the laptop's like 90 degrees to my left. I can't sit there and look at it and look at what I'm doing is the problem with all that. Normally I have it where I can see it, like just out of the corner of my eye, but not with the Acer up here where I had to put it to work on it. Okay, let's see. Yes, it does. It used to be easier in the older installers to do custom mount points and all that than it is in the new one. Ever since, well, about Fedora 23 or somewhere in there, I skipped from Fedora 14 to Fedora 23 because I loved Fedora 14 so much. But I played with stuff on and off, you know, other versions and stuff. On, you know, I got a bunch of old machines and stuff. But yeah, that is the only way I could see it working. The boot partition has to be on the hard disk, since BIOS can't see that SD card. Oh, the boot partition. Okay. Not just the install Grub there, but put the boot partition there. Wow, how am I going to point from the boot partition to the SD card then? I could just copy that boot partition over there. Let me see. Actually, I might cheat. No, that wouldn't work. I was going to say I would just try and full install on the hard drive, but it's going to break. That hard drive's screwed up. I know I'm cheap. I could buy a hard drive and I wouldn't have all this trouble, but I'm cheap. I just bought an 8 terabyte hard drive. I can't spend more money. I had thought about putting that 5 terabyte hard drive in this machine and making it a... I don't want to, that's too big for a web server, but for a backup server it'd be fine. But then it's only got the fastest Ethernet connection. It's got 100 megabits, so it'd be a terrible backup server for a lot of data. And the desktop that I was running from a web server, the gigabit Ethernet died on it, and that's why I'm messing around with this laptop. But I don't want my personal backup files on the same machine as my web server, because if somebody breaks into my web server, they'll be into my personal files. I always keep my personal files on a separate machine from my web server. My web server only has files on it that I don't care, you know, if people see them, or if they got in there and jacked it up and deleted them all, then I've got backups. That's my plan anyway. Let's see. Yeah, the more they on Fedora, I don't know if the Bane's doing it, but Fedora, the more they make it easier, the more they make it harder for me, because just like in that, I don't know if you were watching when I was doing the Fedora Media Writer, and they say restore your disk or drive or whatever to factory settings instead of saying we're going to format it to FAT32. They're doing all kinds of stuff like that now. So, let's see. Partition. I'm going to try that on the laptop. I'm going to try pulling that chat out. Says it might actually be helpful. Where is it? Does make it quite a bit bigger. And of course I could make it full screen even. I still can't read it though. That's what I was afraid of. I can see all the text now, but I can't read it. No, I still have to look at it right here on this. Keep this window open to look at it on the desktop. Okay, so Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Copy the could copy the boot, just copy it from the SD card to the hard disk. But I have to that disk is formatted FAT32. I'd have to reformat it, but that's not hard to do. Edit FS tab to use internal hard disk mounted on boot. Oh, okay. Yeah, I go into. I guess I could edit that right with the SD card right here in this my main system that I'm streaming from. Mount it back up and find the FS tab file. I'll have to do some studying on that, but I used to do that a lot. You know, back in the earlier days, you had to, if you wanted to add drives and stuff, you had to edit the FS tab files. So I guess it's pretty much the same. I haven't had to do it in a long time. It's been automatic for a while. Used to do it in Fedora 14. That's the last one I really remember doing it on a lot. It's actually what my server, my web site is running on right now is my old Fedora 14 system. I got everything on that thing. I never used it as my, as they say, production server until now, because it's all I had left that was running. But I used to, you know, like experiment on it and stuff. Oh, okay. Just to mount on boot and then use Rescatux to fix boot on the SD card, and it will install Grub on the internal hard disk for you. Oh, okay. It's actually already on there. I installed it already. But, well, if I have to reformat it or something. Yeah, it'd be easier just to reformat it, I think. Okay, let me think about that. Let's see. Copy. So like I reformatted the ext4, I could like just make a 1 gigabyte partition for, you know, it's 1.1 gigabyte, that's what it is nowadays. ext4. Copy the boot over there from the SD card. I could do that in a live system like Fedora. I'd have to put it, I'd have to take Rescatux off of that. I don't have enough SD cards and stuff. I mean, USB sticks and SD cards. But anyway, I'd put something like Fedora 8 or 29 live on there and do all that. And then I have to figure out how to edit the FS tab. Yeah. I guess I could just resize that FAT32 and make room at the beginning for that, you know, for my boot partition. Yeah, that Fedora net installer. Well, once I got it figured out and figured out what things not to select in there, things that have bugs in them, it's really good and easy and fast. I like it better than like the DVD version, you know, because well, I can't remember all the reasons why, but I like the the main reason I like the net installer is because it has the option to do remote desktop install. So I can make my videos. That's the main reason, really. Instead of pointing, because I don't have a camera. I don't have a real camera. I just have phones, and you can't get any, you know. Well, and I can't. I'm streaming over the Wi-Fi, so I have to do 720p. I can't do 1080p. They will do 1080p, but I can't do that. Their Wi-Fi chips can't handle it. I got, you know, fast enough routers. It's the phones. Anyway, yeah, it's pretty easy to use. Yeah, that's what I'm using, that install. There is, and there is a you can do a custom. I used it once, and it was actually I did the work, and then couldn't see how to save it, but it might have been me missing the button. Let's see. I don't know. I haven't tried CentOS in a very long time, years ago, and I installed it. I thought I might use it for my server before Fedora had a server version, and it didn't have any GUIs, and I like GUIs. I'm not good in the command line, and so I didn't use it. I reformatted it with something else. What I used to do is build my servers in Fedora manually, but then when they came out with the Fedora server version, I just started using that. I have used Debane and built servers. That's pretty easy. It's all, I mean, you just click, 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 and it sets you up a web server or FTP, whatever you want, in the installer, or at least in the net installer it does. But I like Fedora because it has SE Linux, and I just think that's more secure to have that security system built in. Debang, yeah. Is that what it sounds like when I say Debang? Some people call it Debian, which I never would have thought of until I heard somebody say that. There was, years ago now, there was a girl, I used to love to watch her videos. She called herself Nixie Pixel, and later on she told everybody her real name. But anyway, she called it Debian. And since then I've seen other people call it that. D-B-A-N. That's what I said, Debang. Yeah, there's something wrong today. My stream has just flat quit and restarted itself twice in the last 30 minutes. And it's pretty crazy because I've got 200 megabits down and 10 megabits up. So I shouldn't have any trouble whatsoever, but sometimes it happens. And usually right at the worst time. But it doesn't stay, as long as it doesn't stay down for like more than like 30 to 60 seconds, it actually just causes caching on the live view, and I don't actually lose any content. I always make backups though. Matter of fact, I should look. I usually keep my Crusader open so that I can look over and make sure my backup video is being made. There has been times when I had to, yeah, there it is. Oh, it's big too. I've been going way too long again. I'm bad about that. I'll have to look at it again a little bit, see if it grows. Once it gets that big, it doesn't grow very fast, the file size. But it'll, in Crusader, you probably already know this, but in Crusader, you can sit there and watch the file size grow. Let's see. Trying to think. I'm not real good at talking, actually live, talking to somebody and then actually thinking and working at the same time. So I'm trying to think if I can actually start doing any of this, or if I'm going to have to regroup and start over. I know I'm going to have to reboot all my machines here pretty soon, my phones and everything. I even have to reboot my routers after a while. How long have I been going? 2 hours and 40 minutes. Okay. So, yeah, I don't want to do anything then to my I was seeing if I got to remount those from here, but I will have to just unplug it, plug it back in. Like that's hard. Let's see. So it's already unmounted, so I'll get it out of there. I would have to put, let's see. Yeah, I've got some old CDs that I might be able to, that have G-parted, but it's an older version. I have Parted Magic. That's what I used to use all the time. But it boots, you know, those CD drives on those laptops are so slow. Excuse me. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, the newer versions of Fedora come with G-parted. So if I put this stick in here, and I go over here to Fedora Media Writer. See if it'll work without giving me trouble. It was acting crazy earlier. Okay. Go to, oh, my ISO images are on my backup drives that I unmounted and unplugged. Okay. So I can't do none of that right now. All right. So unless I plug them back in and all that stuff. Let's see. I think before I get into doing a bunch more work, I really need to reboot all my systems because I'm going to end up having things hang up and act up. But I think what I'm going to want to do is probably write Fedora 28 or 29 live to live made desktop to my SD card, my USB stick, and put it in the laptop so that I can reformat that drive. You know, get me a boot ext4 boot partition on it. Okay, and then I can copy my my boot partition, or the files from the boot partition, over to that, and then yep, that's where they are. I'll download them to my downloads folder, but then I delete them to keep from filling up my drive. I only got a 250 gigabyte drive on this machine I'm using here. But let's see. Anyway, I'll have to figure my plan out right before I do it, or I'll forget it again anyway. But I think I kind of got it in my head what I'll do, what I need to do. Well, Adrian, I really appreciate your help very, very much. It's really not often I get an expert who with help for something like this. Let's see, where is that? But yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it. You had said about talking, like on audio chat and all that. That'd be fun. And I can do Skype audio. My webcams are too old to work with the Skype app anymore, but I can do audio. I tested it earlier today, and I can do the Google calls. but I think what I'll need to do is reboot everything, and I don't know, you may, I guess you're still at work, but anyway, I don't know what you have planned to do and everything, but I'm going to have to reboot everything, take a break because I'm needing a break, and trying to look at if I answered all your questions. Let's see. Oh yeah, the things about the logs and all that. You would have to, if you wanted to see any of that kind of stuff, you would have to help me do that, because I know where, I know about the Ubuntu pastebin and all that. I've used that before a little bit, but like the share log, I'm not quite sure what that is. Don't exactly know what the boot info script is either. So you'd have to tell me where, what exactly it is and how to show it to you. But getting it out of the live system, the only good way I can think to do stuff like that, to show you what's going on in the Rescatux system, is if I run, say, like a live version of VNC Remote Desktop. I mean, not a live version. Well, run, in your Rescatux, run a portable version, we'll say, of. It depends on if one, I wonder if if there's one that'll run in there easily. I have run. Let's see, what do I like to run? Oh well, the one that I usually use is what is it? Tiger VNC. I use KRFB to start and stop it, because that's the easiest way to do it, and I think it runs Tiger VNC. But I have ran some live versions. I mean, portable versions before, or standalone versions, what I kind of like to call them. But anyway, and then all this part in here is what we've just been talking about, looks like. And I don't know if you saw the first part of this video today, but that's the first thing I did, was tried using Rescatux on it to see if it could find the init files and everything and boot to it, and it couldn't. So I'm not quite sure why at all. And I did fix the description in the videos. I tried to spell that by memory, and I spelled it the way I say it, Rescatux. So I fixed that. Let's see. Anyway, oh yeah, that part of the video there where that's where I paused it last, where it showed Rescatux saw my SD card, and it saw 3 partitions, which was kind of throwing me off, because I expect to see a ext4 and an LVM2 with all the other partitions inside of it. And so I would expect it to have only seen 2 partitions, but it saw 3. So, and then all the other ones, I don't remember really what they were. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to anything that didn't pertain to what I was trying to do. But how weird. Won't let me put my mouse in there to type. Sign into chat. I'm already signed in. Okay. Well, I know I was able to type in my live dashboard a while ago. Okay, Skype. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Desktop, yes. Yeah, my backup video is still working. Strangely enough, I couldn't type to him on my actual video page. I had to get on my admin page. It kept popping something up in the way. Oh, it said I had to log in. That's what it was. Well, I'm already logged in. I guess if I'd have clicked it, I don't know. It's probably one of those security things where I'd have to click it and then type in my password again or something. But anyway, it was easier just to go back over here. Okay, well, he's probably busy, so I'm going to go ahead and go, and maybe we'll catch up with him later. All right. Okay, so, wow, that was really nice. Didn't help. Oh, can't see my face. My camera froze up. I forgot about that. Okay, so that was really nice getting help from Adrian. I never did ask him. He's the he may be the sole developer of Rescatux and Super Grub2 Disk. I don't know if he has a whole team or what, but anyway, that's who I've been talking to, and he got in touch with me through the comments on my last video about this machine. So he said it's helpful to him to get feedback, and so he wanted to help me. So that's really awesome. So hopefully we'll get back in touch again. If not, if it doesn't work out today, maybe another time. But yeah, it would be easier for me to talk back and forth to him than trying to read the chats and work at the same time. I'm not good at chatting and typing and stuff and working at the same time. I'm not good at chatting, period. All right, so I'm going to go, and I will try. I want to try to come back. I'm planning on coming back today. I don't see why not, unless something goes wrong with I mean, my stream did go up and down a couple of times, unless something goes wrong with the internet or something like that. But should be able to come back after a while here. But it did take me probably an hour. It could have taken 2 hours. I just have all kinds of trouble today with things not working right with my video and all that and my cameras. And it took me an hour to 2 hours to get things working to get started. So we'll see. Hopefully everything will work out all right. So we'll see you later, and we'll be back after a while.